Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 64, I believe. Yes. So, welcome back once again. We got a big show today, huge show. So, we're talking the finals, NBA and NHL. Me and Cam are giving an update on our promises to watch some games. It did not go so well on the NHL front. And then we got tough scene of the week. And then we got Cardinals Corner, which is a very somber Cardinals Corner because we have no fan questions and they don't win. So, sorry, excuse me. And then we will finish up with Say Hello, Kiss Goodbye, maybe some live and PGA golf talk a little bit. And that will be the show. But a lot to talk about between those things. And we do once again just want to re-thank Ryan Joseph for coming on the show last week. I know probably every single one of you that is listening to this right now listened to that. So it was hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I loved the interview. I loved a lot of stuff that came from it, and just a huge shout out to him for coming on the show. And Cam, you want to get started with some NBA Finals talk? So the
Absolutely.
Heat are down 2-1. Nuggets up 2-1. Game 4 tonight in Miami. And
they're playing back to back? No, they are not.
No, I'm talking about
fake.
We're releasing this tomorrow morning, Cam. So
okay.
It's tonight for people listening. Tomorrow for us, but yeah, playing Game 4 and Heat are down 2-1. What are your thoughts on the series so far, Cam?
Well, first I want to just take us back to Game 2 when we were still in Denver, because this has just really been the story of the NBA playoffs, really. So Game 2, and the story here was the Heat just love being down and then coming back, which is exactly what happened in Game 2. And the big thing that happened in this game, Luke, was that the role players woke up after their Game 1 disaster that included Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin not doing jack. The Strus was not loose. He went 0 of 10 from the field. And one thing to also point out after Game 2 is Jimmy continued to be pretty mediocre. So they really need him to step up. But luckily, the role players stepped up in Game 2. And it worked out for him because they had a different strategy of guarding Jokic in Game 2, of just kind of letting him dominate down in the paint and score as many as he wanted, but not be the super duper passer that he is. They limited him to just 4 assists while he threw in 41 points. And it worked. They were able to even up the series in the altitude in Denver to go home tied up 1-1. And even though Rocky the mascot, a stone cold killer, threw in a half court shot during the intermission at halftime, the Nuggets weren't able to go up 2-0. And then we had Game 3 just last night, Luke, and very close first half, very physical game. The refs were they made it a little bit of a ref show in the first half, and things didn't really get out of control in the second half for the Heat, but the Nuggets went on one little run that was like an 11-0 run that pushed the lead to like 16, and then another short little run that pushed it to 21, and then the Heat were just chipping away the rest of the night and were never able to chip it all the way down, obviously, and they lost last night at home. Nobody really had a crazy good game. Bam Adebayo, as me and Luke were texting back and forth last night, looked very gassed in the late third and into the fourth quarter. Wasn't making as big of an impact as he did in the first half. And a big part of that is he's like the only one that can somewhat guard the paint.
Yeah.
He is, that when they throw Zeller in there, the Nuggets instantly put Jokic on him, and he just kills Zeller. And it's very sad to see, but that's just how it is. And yeah, they didn't have the fire that they needed, the heat that they needed to go up at home 2-1. Instead, the Nuggets did just that, and Jokic had a crazy stat line: 40 minutes, 30 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists,
Was that his final
another
stat line?
triple-double. Yeah, because they took him out.
Oh, okay. Because
So
I know they flashed that, but I wasn't sure if that was final. So that's sick. I remember seeing that and thinking that 4-3-2-1. There was also another crazy Jokic stat. So there, in the history of the NBA playoffs, there have been 5 30-point, 20 rebound triple doubles. And Jokic has 3 of them. Out of the 5 times it's been done, Jokic has done it 3 times. And the other 2 are Kareem and Wilt. So guys that we can say by their first name. That's how crazy this is. And another stat is I thought it was really cool. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic became the first teammates to have 30-point triple doubles in the same game in NBA history. Not NBA Finals history, not NBA playoff history, in NBA history. That's never been done, even in a regular season, even in a first round play. Never been done. And it happens here in game 3 of the finals that they both do that. I thought that was bizarre. I know that's really, improbable to have a 30-point triple double, especially 2 teammates to do it in the same game. But the fact that it's never been done in history kind of threw me off guard a little bit. I mean, you think back to some of the great duos in the NBA, and just to think that they were never able to get that. That yeah, it was very shocking. But that's the type of stuff that the Nuggets are going to have to do to beat the Heat. And that's why it's like the Nuggets are the better team, but this is a good series. This is going back and forth. The Nuggets suffocated the Heat in that third quarter of game 3, but I have here on my notes, Cam, that the key to this series for the Heat is to score 110 points in a game. Because I'm confident their defense, they can contain Denver to scoring below 110 points. And we saw in game 1 and in game 3, the 2 games they lost, they failed to score even 100 points. They couldn't even hit triple digits on the scoreboard. That's not going to win you a game against Denver. And their defense has been great. I mean, despite Jokic still dominate, Jokic is going to dominate no matter what. Jamal Murray is going to do his thing no matter what. Christian Brown, or however you say his name, the idiot that went to Kansas, he had a very solid game off the bench yesterday too. But I mean, the Heat, if they score 110 points in the next 3 games, you could be looking at a Heat in 6. I'm confidently saying that. But that's about the only chance they got to win. They have to score. They have to keep up with Denver offensively. Their defense can hold them. They can contain them though.
yeah, as an interesting thing to point out, because for me, the only thing that I was able to take away from last night's game is it just gave me game 1 vibes. It was just like the vibes of they're just so much a better team, Even last night, we're talking about Christian Brown here. Christian Brown started getting Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes last night because he was playing so well. Michael Porter Jr. was looking very lazy on defense, and Malone pulled his ass, and Christian Brown, he had an excellent game. Like, he looked awesome. So got to give credit.
Hustling all over the court.
Yeah, as soon as he got on the court, things changed because he was playing with a different kind of energy than really anybody on the court for both sides. So that was pretty key for the Nuggets. I don't know if they would have gotten that performance if they would have been able to go on that little run that they did in the third quarter. So you got to give credit where credit's due there. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But game 4, are we willing to say that's a must-win for the Heat?
I think it is.
You go down 3-1, and you're facing 3 straight wins. 2 of them have to be on the road, which it has been done in the finals before, but by one of the greatest players to ever play the game and his elite supporting cast. They went on the road for games 5 and 7, came back from 3-1 only once. So I don't think Jimmy Butler and his supporting cast are quite on that same level that LeBron and his Migos were in 2016. But so I'm willing to say it's a must win. If the Heat lose game 4 tonight,
it's over.
Yeah, you might as well call it a wrap. But I'm confident that the Heat will come back and win tomorrow. I don't know why. I just think that the Heat are going
They
to be playing
have
with a
to.
little more urgency tomorrow.
They
I think the
have to.
Nuggets. I know Jamal Murray just tore up his hand. He had one of the worst floor burns on a hand I think I've seen ever. It was, I mean, it was just like a huge, like open wound just in like the corner of his hand right there. It looked so gross. And
Yep.
we've all had floor burns. We know what they feel like. This one was just a whole new level. If you haven't seen it, I'd look it up just to know what he's going through. And I don't think that's going to be healed by tomorrow night. So that might affect his play a little bit. I don't know. So if the Heat can take advantage of maybe a slightly off his game Jamal Murray, they should be able to win that game.
Yeah, and they were able to do that in game 2. And uh, real hoopers know that injury that he has, which is, like Luke just said, it's just an open wound in the palm of his hand. It is brutal. It is so hard to play with unless he like really, really bandages it up. But then it's your whole hand is just funky, and then you're thinking about it. It's a really tough thing to play through. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, I'm for sure that is going to be a huge thing. I'm still thinking Nuggets in 6 though. I know the Heat they're going to be playing in this series, but this series is just the way it's going. It's just shifting to Nuggets in 6. I think the Heat will get one more, but I don't know if they'll get more than that. It's just it's kind of shaping up to be a Nuggets in 6 type of series. Um, that's about all I can say.
Yeah. Sucks, but I mean the Nuggets are just that much better.
Yeah.
So
And when is Tyler Hero coming back? Because
he is ruled out for tomorrow's game.
I
So
saw
who
that
knows?
he's not coming back tomorrow, but um, he was because when he broke his hand in the playing game, they're like, well, he could come. He's technically, I think they said he's out for the year because they didn't expect themselves to be in the finals, but they're like, yeah, I guess if they make the finals, he could come back. So now they're in the finals and they're down in the finals, and they need someone of his caliber that can just come in and score and shoot. Um, that's what they've kind of been missing in these losses. I mean, like Duncan Robinson goes cold, Gabe Vincent goes cold, Max Strus goes cold. Kevin Love, he was shooting some threes yesterday. That was kind of weird. He went cold. Kyle Lowry doesn't really shoot threes, so you don't really have a score besides Jimmy Butler, and all they have to do is just double team him then, and then you're shut down. Caleb Martin can be that guy, but he struggled a little bit these first few games of the series. Um, but yeah, I mean if Tyler Hero comes back, then watch out because if he's fully healthy and he's out there just balling, um, the Heat they could pull something very
They
special
could.
off.
Yeah. And you're exactly right, Luke. I mean, if we saw it in game 1, I mean, if the role guys don't start kicking it into gear, and they were better last night than obviously game 1, but obviously it still wasn't enough. The Heat just get cooked. I mean, they really do. I mean, because like you just said, Jimmy Butler's already kind of struggling, which I think a big part of it is honestly, I think maybe his turned ankles are bothering him, but I also just think he's tired. I mean, he's had to carry them a big chunk of the playoffs. But you're right. Caleb Martin is key. They need him to get going. I know coming into game 3 last night, he had only had 6 points, which is ridiculous. So they really need him. So I agree.
Yeah, you still thinking Nuggets in 5? I know that was your prediction.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I think the Nuggets are going to win tomorrow too, even though the Heat need that game like they need to breathe. So, but I don't think they're going to get it, and then I think it's just going to go back to Denver, and then it's over. So I don't
Yeah.
want it to go that way, but I think that's how it's going to go. So
Okay. Um, I still don't it's still hard for me to envision a scenario where the Heat win this series. As much as I want it to happen, it's just so hard to envision it. Um, yeah. All right, that's NBA talk. You want to talk a little NHL here for a minute or two? I know last week we committed to watching some games. I committed to watching Game 1 and Game 5, and then obviously we both said Game 7 if that happens because it's Game 7 of the finals. Um, I did not watch game one because I had to work until 8:30 that night. I just completely forgot about that. I don't even know if I was aware of it on Wednesday night whenever we recorded. But I did say I would watch game one, and I did not because by the time I got off my shift, 2 periods were already over, and I'm like, even though it was a tie game, I still probably could have tuned in and counted it, but I didn't. So I'll have to pick one of these upcoming games. But man, Florida needs to win because Vegas has looked just about as good as you can so far.
Yeah. My only notes on this for our NHL segment here was a kind of a similar thing. I almost watched game one, then I just decided completely against it. And then I turned it on for game two. I literally turned it on, and thankfully I turned it off pretty fast because the Knights won like 6-0. So thankfully I turned it off, and so we are holding out till hashtag game 5. And the Panthers, it's just not looking great for the Panthers. That's all you can really say. Not looking good for either Miami 8 seeds.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are 8 seeds after all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
There's Cinderella runs, but they never win at all. Like FAU this year, St. Peter's the year before. They make something special out of it, and it's a memorable thing. But in the end, there's always that one team that's just better that wins it all. So I think that's how both of these seasons are going to go. It's going to be the Nuggets and the Vegas Golden Knights. That's about all my NHL notes because I didn't watch it. So,
yep, same here. All right,
Vegas scores a lot of goals.
They do score a lot of goals.
I think they have 12 goals. Yeah, Florida benched their goalie in game 2. I did see that. Which is, I mean, Bobrovsky he's a big name for a goalie in the finals, and him being benched he did suck, but I think he gave up 4 goals out of like 9 shots, so he was terrible. But still, being benched, that's not a good sign for the finals.
Yeah. All right.
Well, tough scene of the week.
Tough scene of the week. Yeah. I'll start.
Okay.
I've had a much calmer week thus far, but we'll see in a minute. This is Luke's week. In fact, instead of a question for the Cardinals corner, we had a question about a certain tough scene that Luke's going to be presenting to us here in a moment. But my first tough scene of the week is Natalie Portman's husband cheated on her with a 25-year-old, which, if you ask me, Luke, is a despicable thing to do to my sweet queen. And I'll go out and say it.
It's a despicable thing to do just in general, but
it is, but especially to my sweet queen.
Yes.
I can promise you that, Luke. I would never cheat on Natalie Portman. I'll just say that. I'll say it. So, Natalie,
never say never.
If you're looking for a pick-me-up, I'm here. I will drop everything in my life to be with you. So there you go. But that is a tough scene. I can't believe somebody would cheat on her.
You miss white women too much, Kim.
I know. Very sad. That's another tough scene. Do you want to ping-pong it, or do you want me to say my other two?
Let's just go through it. Just go through the list. Knock them out.
Okay. Yeah, I think yours might be a little longer. All right. My next one is the report that Bryan Cranston, the actor who plays Walt in Breaking Bad, and he's in other various shows, the report that Bryan Cranston will be voicing the Ender Dragon in the Minecraft movie came out to be very fake, Luke, and that was very soul-crushing. So that's another tough scene. Just a simple one, but it was tough. And then probably my biggest tough scene here, if you were on the internet at all yesterday, you probably saw various tweets. Maybe we'll read some off here. Although that could get pretty raunchy pretty fast.
It might not be a good idea.
Zion Williamson, may have really, really upset his porn star girlfriend by impregnating some other chick and then trying to act like everything is fine and that he'll just move both of them to New Orleans with them. very tough scene for Zion. He's had some tough scenes with women in the past. There was a very funny photo while he was at Duke of him sending a Snapchat to just some white chick saying that he has a very big room and that she can come sleep with him in it. An all-time classic of a tweet or of a Snapchat, but that turned into a viral meme. But this was pretty crazy. This blew up on the internet very, very quickly. It kind of blindsided him. He didn't know that this chick was going to go on and post all the stuff about him. I guess he thought maybe she would keep it private, but basically he got a chick pregnant while he's been dating this other chick for a while, and she was not happy. I am going to read some of these real quick. Just as it's such an incredible
his girlfriend.
Yeah, Mariah Mills, the first chick that he was seeing before all this happened, and he's been seeing this chick for a while. So here we go. Let's start at the bottom here.
Okay.
At
the bottom.
Better pray I'm not pregnant too, because I'm definitely late at Zion Williamson. I hate you on God. Hashtag Zion Williamson. Looks like you had a girlfriend and sleeping with other women behind my back at Zion Williamson. You liar. And this was a Snapchat from Zion to his chick. Bet I don't have a girlfriend. This is him trying to play it off cool. But if I moved you to New Orleans, would you be cool with that? Be my official? Just asking so I know how to go about the situation with respect. When you move, how much do you expect me to pay you a month? But I'm super excited.
Valid question.
Okay. There's some other ones that were before that she found out that he cheated on him. I can't. It's hard to pick some of the ones that you can actually have on the show.
Okay, but let me ask a question here, Cam. You said she was a porn star. His girlfriend.
I think by porn star, I just mean she's a big, I guess, OnlyFans model.
Oh, okay.
But and nowadays that gets
That's
okay. Yeah. Here's a really good one. Here's a really, really good one. I motivated you to get back in shape, and I let you fuck me all kinds of ways and film me on your phone at Zion Williamson, and you impregnate a low-budget porn star. DNA test or I'm done. 6 exclamation points.
It's probably how Zion got skinny all of a sudden. He was
exactly
working out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You let that hoe finesse you is why I'm angry. She 29 with a adult child already. I know what comes with being a basketball player girl. I know there'll be other women, but didn't expect you to get these hoes pregnant at Zion Williamson. Sad face, sick face.
That actually is a valid point, though.
No, she is making
as a basketball
of
girlfriend. She went in just expecting him to cheat on her. That's wild to think about, but I mean that's kind of what basketball players do, I would imagine. That's not racially motivated either. I want to clear that up.
Yeah. Yep.
Before something happens again, I get yelled at for being racist.
Yeah. Apparently, Zion also would tape them of them having what. So on his phone, so a bunch of people were texting this Mariah chick to, well, release the tapes if you're really that mad. I don't have any tapes. They're all on his phone, and I'm not like that. We were really together. Congrats to both of them at Zion Williamson and Concrete Rose. Blessings, God, don't make mistakes. So basically, it was just a very, very tough 24 hours for Zion. He just logged in Twitter, and I'm sure his phone nearly exploded.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't know if you remember when Baker Mayfield started to get in trouble with some of the various women, but and Snapchat, but that was a wild time as well. So
Yeah. Dude,
maybe not quite
if
as
you want
wild.
to read some of these on your own, all you have to go to is at Mariah Mills on Twitter, or if you just type in Zion Williamson, there are some very, very raunchy tweets that she put out there of what they were doing and how upset she is that this happened. So just a tough scene for Zion. He can't even get on the court. He is getting absolutely killed off the court. Yeah, although he did get skinny, and this may be how he got skinny. She actually talked about how she helped him get skinny. So there you
Yeah,
go.
she motivated him.
Yep.
All right, my tough scenes. I got two of them. So the first one is personal. On last week's show, I think we mentioned that me and Cam were just going back and forth with just the ultimate tough scenes, and they were getting worse and worse. It did not get worse than Cam's last week, thankfully. I I I would be in a very bad spot if it was worse. I did go down a little bit, but I was almost 4 hours late to work on Monday. Just casually, just strolled in. 3 hours, 45 minutes late, like nothing happened. So yeah, that was a tough scene, and it wasn't like I intentionally did it. Because I mean, if you're 4 hours late, it's like okay, you have to intentionally be late. But nope, I just I'll explain it a little bit. So I go in at the same time every day for work. I have been for the last 3 weeks or whatever. Ever since school ended, I've been going in at the same day, same time every day for work. And so last week there was like a 10-second conversation maximum, maybe, that my boss was like, "Hey, do you want to come in at 8 a.m. And do the markdowns or whatever that we do on Mondays?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do that. Get more hours, whatever, because you got to get more hours, the more dough, money talks, as we'll see later in the show with golf. But so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and just completely forgot. It was the 10-second. It was in my brain. I was like, all right, 8 a.m. Monday. I can remember that. And by the end of my shift, it was out of my brain and just completely forgotten about. And yeah, I come in at 11:45 on Monday, and my boss was like, "Luke, where have you been? You were supposed to come in at 8 today." And I was like, "I was." And then I just remembered. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I was." I was like, I don't know. I was just at a loss for words because I just completely forgot. It was just not in my brain at all. So that was it was a tough scene, and I was doing a lot of thinking after that, on on the rest of the shift. It was a very tough shift that I had, but you know, everyone has days like that. It's a tough scene, and that's all you can say. You just move on. I apologize. There wasn't a huge fallout, not a lot of punishment from it. I just lost about 4 hours of work, is all. So yeah, and then my other tough scene is Mark Andrews. Cammy might have helped me out with this a little bit, but he went. So they've been doing, I guess, summer workouts or whatever for NFL camps or whatever. And they asked Mark Andrews about Lamar Jackson and his throwing. Obviously with the more weapons he has this year, he's going to be throwing more. And Mark Andrews said his balls are incredible, and he's putting his balls on the money. Direct quote. So just saying that another
Incredible.
dude's balls are incredible is a very tough scene. I don't know if he meant for it to come off that way, or if he was literally just like talking. He was just like in his football mindset. He's like, yeah, his balls are incredible. Or if he was like trying to be intentionally ironic and a little funny about it. But regardless, it's a tough scene. And if Travis Kelsey said something like that, I'd be like, oh, he knows what he's doing. I mean, this is the dude who almost went up and said my fellow Americans, and on the White House podium microphone, at the Chiefs when they went to the White House the other day. But Mark Andrews, he seems more like a serious dude to me. So he doesn't give off Travis Kelce vibes. So I could see him just like getting caught up in the moment and just being like, yeah, his balls are incredible. Putting his balls on the money. His balls on the money. Yeah. Tough scene.
Shout out balls.
Lamar's balls specifically.
Yeah.
Because they're incredible.
Yep. All right. That's tough scene of the week.
His balls are incredible. That's just an awesome quote card too. I know that's going to reappear during the NFL season.
As it should. There's no question about it. Okay. We'll get into some live PGA Tour fiasco. How about that, Luke?
Where do you want to do that, or Cardinals first? So we got some stuff to talk about.
We'll do this then Cardinals.
Okay, this is interesting. This is
This has all kinds of different elements to it in terms of economics, ethics, and morality, and then also just some really pissed off players, rightfully so. So live PGA Tour fiasco. The one word I have for this is unreal. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour and the PGA Players Association, is a piece of shit. We just have to say that right now. What he did was, over the past 2 years, pretty much just said, especially 2 years ago, told all his players on the tour and eventually guys that some of them that ended up going to live to not take live tour money because they have blood on their hands. They're linked to 9/11 blood, that they're killers, just really bad people, and that if you do that, you're banned from the tour. You can't come back, and all this stuff. And what happened is many PGA Tour players not only agreed with Jay or took his word with some solace and decided to not take live money and stay on the tour, worried about legacy and such, and wanting to be able to play in all these big tournaments. They decided to stay on the tour and turn down, we're talking $100 million deals, $50 million deals, $200 and even $300 million deals for guys like Hideki Matsuyama, who had just won the Masters just over a year ago. All turned down that money because it was blood money, according to Jay. And just 2 days ago on Monday, it was announced that...
No, it wasn't Monday. I think it was Wednesday morning. It could have been Tuesday morning, though.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I think it was Wednesday morning. Yeah, I think that's when I first saw it on Twitter, that the PGA and LIV are coming together to merge as one, and the Saudis and the Saudi investment fund and their money are going to have a huge say in how the PGA Tour is run. They will have a seat at the table going forward, and Jay Monahan did this all behind his players' backs and is a huge hypocrite, as he told them not to take that money. And he went ahead and made that deal with LIV because they had to, because they were running out of money themselves from increasing all the purses for all the tournaments, which they had to do to kind of keep the players at bay, to help them not lose all their great players to LIV, because they lost a big chunk of them in terms of big names. But Luke, the PGA players, they have a huge right to be pissed because they missed out on life-changing amounts of dollars. And if they would have taken it a year or two later, it wouldn't have even mattered because LIV and PGA Tour are now one. So they were completely backstabbed by their commissioner, the biggest hypocrite in sports right now. And really, the only thing that's come of this is, as of right now, we don't know what golf is going to look like going forward. It should look a lot the same, but there's going to be some changes with LIV being involved. And all that we can really say about this is there are some really big winners from this situation and some really big losers. That there's probably some changes coming forward in golf.
Yeah, I think the big winners are the people that took their money, and the big losers are the people who didn't take their money. But yeah, I mean, speaking of the commissioners, I don't know whoever you have as your worst commissioner. If it's Rob Manfred, if it's Roger Goodell, some people would have even Gary Bettman being up there for the worst commissioner. You're gonna have to update your list because this guy is head and shoulders above any of the other. I hate Rob Manfred. I think he's done a terrible job with the game since he's taken over. Um, Roger Goodell, I don't. He's very unethical, but I mean he does his job well. Both of those guys have been at the bottom of my list for a while, but this guy he just shoots to the bottom, even above Rob Manfred. I mean if you've listened to this show, you know how much I've talked about how much I hate him. This guy, at least Rob Manfred, like takes care of his players to an extent. This guy just completely just turned around, backstabbed him, like you said, just a big middle finger to him. Just what is it? Less than 2 years after saying, if you make a deal with them, if you accept their deal, you have 9/11 blood on your hands. That's not a term to throw around lightly in this country. That is, I mean, the biggest terrorist attack on our country ever. I think the only other attack would be Pearl Harbor that would, counter in the deaths, and that was in the middle of a war. I mean, this is 9/11. That's not something to be throwing around lightly. And then less than 2 years after saying that, you yourself go and negotiate with these people. Not only negotiate, but make a deal with them and take their money that you said was blood money. So honestly, in this, Jay Monahan now has 9/11 blood on his hands. I think we can formally state that now. His words, not mine. Um, so how does it feel to be a terrorist? That would be my first question to Jay Monahan: is how does it feel to officially be a terrorist now? But yeah, I feel for the PGA Tour guys to an extent. I mean, they're still rich, they're still making a lot of money, but they did get screwed heavily in this whole thing. And honestly, I think this might be such a move that Jay Monahan might just have to step down. He might be forced to resign here. I could see this in the next year, PGA having a new commissioner because you can't bounce back from this. There's nothing that Jay Monahan can possibly do that can ever repair his reputation for this.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it is something he had to do. The PGA was running out of money. They couldn't compete with the Live. The only way to keep the league alive was to do this. But it's an unfortunate situation. It's when a bunch of rich people, us Americans have very recently become very upset with rich people in America. These Saudi Arabians have so much money, it is insane. I mean, you talk about Bill Gates, you talk about Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, these guys are up there with Jeff Bezos' money. And when you combine them all together, when they form their group, like you said, their pool group or whatever.
Fund.
Yeah, their investment fund. When you put all that together, it's double what Jeff Bezos has. So these guys could probably take over the world if they wanted. They're literally making their own city right now. Abu Dhabi. They're literally just building it. It's going to be the first man-made city ever. They're just like building it out into the water. It's going to be all. That's how much money these guys have. And whenever they choose to get involved in your sport, good luck. And I do feel for Jay Monahan in that way, is that there wasn't really anything for him to do, but at the same time, like you can't go back on your word like that. And screw over these players.
I don't think it was that dire though. I don't think it was like he had to make this move right now. I don't think it was like that, to be honest with you. And another thing is, you know how you said he's probably going to have to step down? Well, he went ahead and gave himself a raise as he became the new commissioner of this new entity as well. We don't know what it's going to be called. I think it's still going to be called just the PGA Tour. But he is now the commissioner of the PGA Live merger as well. So who knows, actually.
I want to revoke my statement. I don't feel bad for him anymore.
Yeah.
To hear that.
Also, that was another huge statement from Luke just a moment ago. First man-made city. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the
What? How are
terminology
other
that they
cities
use.
made?
I mean, when you think about some of these cities, they've been there before. Obviously, like the buildings are man made, but um, like the roads and stuff, and the trees and the paths, those are all there. Those were all there before, I guess. Uh, I'll look it up.
Paths and roads in the city. They were already there.
Man
Okay.
made
That
city.
was just an interesting tidbit I picked out of what you were saying.
That
Um,
okay? So it's a planned city, I guess. That's the difference. Not man made. It's planned. Which these other cities they just kind of form, like people just kind of move there, migrate over time, and then it just gets bigger and bigger, and then they have to build and stuff. This was a planned city. That's what I meant by like they're building the city like it's man made. Is that they said, hey, we're gonna make just a huge city here. We are going to make it right here. We're going to put things that we want to into it. That's something that we've never seen done before. Like all these big cities, like Los Angeles, New York, yeah, Portland. I mean, some of these, St. Louis. These are just cities that have just naturally grown over time. Abu Dhabi it's they're making it how they want to. It's not natural at all. So
okay.
yeah, that is interesting.
Um,
That was a good point
yeah.
though. Good question.
So yeah. It is crazy. It's really just a time of uncertainty in terms of golf. I don't know when any of these changes are going to be put into play and stuff like that. So I guess we'll just wait and see. It was just a big news story. And me and Luke, we actually do like golf, and we have a couple guys that we do like to
Eh,
cheer for.
eh. I
Eh,
play golf. I I'll
we like to
occasionally
watch some
watch.
of the big majors.
I'll watch an hour or two on Sunday of the majors,
I think that's enough
and I
to
follow
call
it.
it casual fandom.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's about my fandom with the NHL. I follow it,
Okay.
but I don't really watch. Except I do play golf. Don't play hockey though.
I feel
Only
like
the
I actually might follow golf closer than NHL.
no.
And I think that a part of that has to do with listening to Pardon My Take, but
That
that's
could be.
probably true.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah, I
mean,
guess
outside of the Masters, I can't say I really watch. Like I know when Brooks won the PGA Championship, I like the majors I recognize and stuff, but the only time I really watch is the Masters. So
all right. Should we talk some sombering Cardinals?
some sombering Cardinals. I don't think we had any questions this week. I didn't post it on the Instagram, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, no one. There was multiple likes on it. No one had any questions, so I just came up with some questions on my own that I thought would be good. So first part. Obviously, we suck. We're not technically last in the league anymore. We're tied. We're tied for last. Although when I made these notes, we were last in the National League, and the only two teams that were worse than us were the Royals and the A's. And I mean, both of those teams are on pace for historically bad seasons. So that's saying something when those are the only two teams worse than you. Why are we so bad, and who is to blame? I mean, this team, we all had expectations for them to win the division coming into this year. Um, and it hasn't panned out that way. We're sitting here on June 8th, and will be June 9th when this comes out, and they're in last place in the National League. That's not something that any of us planned. They're 12 games under 500. It is just a absolute disaster. Um, the vibes are about as low as you can possibly be. Man, that's why I said, who is to blame? Everyone. I mean, everyone down from the front office all the way to the players, I think is to blame. I mean, the front office they've poorly constructed this team for years, and I think it's just coming like crashing down just all in one half of a season here. The team has been poorly managed and poorly run all year. Um, the leadership has been awful. The leadership of Ali Marmol has been awful. The leadership of um, dare I say, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, some of the leaders of the team, been awful. The leadership from the front office has been terrible. Just bad leadership. And some of that people are saying might have to do with Yachty leaving, because Yachty has been the team leader for at least a decade, if not more. He's been the guy to lead the team. He's not there anymore. Maybe they're kind of scrambling to see, what do we do without Yachty? Now, granted, is Yachty not being there worth this much of a collapse? Absolutely not. If we're struggling at the beginning there or something like in April, I can understand how you could point to Yachty and be like, hey, it's a change. But what we're going through right now, that has nothing to do with Yachty not being there. I'll say that confidently. And I think the worst part of it all is that none of the players seem to really care. And I know they do, because they wouldn't be going out there playing every day if they didn't. And I'd take someone like Adam Wainwright. He wouldn't be playing right now. He would just retire if he didn't care. So it's hard for me to say that someone like that doesn't care. But whenever you have a go-ahead home run in the top of the 8th inning, where you haven't scored all game. It's 0-0, top of the 8th. This John Gray guy is going out there dominating you. And Burleson ropes one over the wall, to take the lead in the top of the 8th. And the only two people that are even showing somewhat of an emotion is Captain Kiz, Andrew Kisner, the new captain of the team, which I was going to mention on last week's show, but I forgot to. And Jordan Walker, the rookie prospect, which I love to see that he cares, because that gives me hope for this team, because he is the future. But those are the only two guys that even showed a little bit of emotion. Walker was outside the dugout. He was like, yeah, let's go, Captain. Kisner was over the railing, screaming and yelling. Everyone else was just kind of like standing there. And they showed Burleson walking through the dugout after he got back, touched home plate, walked back, got a few high fives. That's about it.
Yeah.
This is a game time. This is a go-ahead home run in the top of the 8th in a game that you have to win.
Yeah. One question I would have really liked to see what Marmel's message was to the team regarding maybe that moment last night, because I know any team sport that I've ever been a part of, and these are parents as coaches, and obviously once you get to high school, you get some actual real coaches. If there's no excitement in the locker room, dugout, whatever, that's actually usually when we would have our biggest ass chewings. They would just lay into us. How do you not lay into your players after seeing something like that? I mean, there was a viral clip. Maybe I shouldn't say viral, but at least viral for St. Louis area, and probably at least baseball fans watching this. I mean, it was as somber as possible. It looked like Burleson hit a home run when we were down 20-1. That's how bad it looked. Yeah. And I think you may have hit the nail right on the head. I mean, where's the leadership coming from right now? It's not Marmol, one. I mean, the players in Marmol seem to be on totally opposite pages right now. And it's not from our possible future Hall of Famers either. So it's really, really tough. And I do agree with you. It's nice to see that Jordan Walker cares. I think a big part of that is he's probably just elated to be back up. Me and you talked about this. I mean, we were surprised that they kind of sent him back down after going back on their word, saying that when he was up, he's up. So he's probably just elated to be back up to the show. But
as Ben Verlander pointed out, which is I think he's the younger brother of Justin Verlander, but he's analyst for Fox Baseball, and he pointed out, he was like, they called up Jordan Walker just in time so that if he finishes the season in the major leagues, he will have just under the requirements to complete the full rookie season. So the Cardinals get an extra year of control of him. So what about that? Contract manipulation at its finest. So I will have to say that big brain move by the front office, but also very dirty, especially after saying, like, if he's up, he's up. So
yeah, very cheap too. But that's who would have thought that the Cardinals front office would be cheap. I think we always get questions, except this week, obviously. What's wrong with the team? What's wrong with the team? Me and you sound like a broken record. Pitching, pitching, pitching. Um, right now, it's a mix of bad pitching and bad offense. But I think maybe the biggest issue is off the field. Actually, it's
Yep.
in the dugout. It's in the locker room. It's on the plane. It's on the plane rides home and to the games. It's something is very, very wrong. Um, some internal conflicts between the coaching staff and the players. I don't know what it is, but there's no bond. There's nothing there. It looks like they don't enjoy playing baseball, um, and which is really not a good thing to have when we're about to enter the dog days of baseball. One of the toughest stretches as a player. Um, except for maybe the final stretch, but one of the toughest stretches as a player, the dog days of summer. And if they don't figure it out, I mean, it's over. I
You're
mean,
selling.
because yeah, I mean, we might start seeing some really uh, big things happen at the trade deadline. Maybe I have no idea if they're going to decide to actually sell. But it would maybe make more sense to do that if you're this far back. Now, one thing that we do have going for us is that we're in like the worst division in baseball,
Well,
and we
the
and we
AL
can
Central.
we could climb out of it. I mean, 12 and a half is or 12 games under 500, but our division is just not very good. So you could climb at least to 500. You got to make your goal, get back to 500.
We are we're actually 11 games under 500 right now. That was my fault. And we're 8 games out of the division somehow. I mean, that's in 2011, which is the year we won the World Series. We were 10 games out of the wild card at the start of September. Now, granted, that took an amazing month of September and a collapse from the Braves in September, for that to happen. But 8 games out at the beginning of June is nothing. That is nothing. And that's why it's so hard for me to give up hope on this team, because what I'm watching, as Frank the Tank would say, what I'm watching is trash. It's one of the worst brands of baseball I've ever seen in my life. This I didn't even watch any of the games this week against the Rangers. I watched a few innings here and there. I watched the ninth inning last night. Just here and there, I've watched a few innings. The first 2 months of the season, I would sit down and watch almost every game when I could. I would sit down and watch it because I enjoyed it. I stopped enjoying it, and I've had rants on here where I've gotten angry. I'm not really angry right now. It's just sad because this team that I had so much hope for this year. I made a 2023 Cardinals hype video, expecting us, we're going to be World Series contenders. Specifically Arenado, I was thinking Nolan Arenado is primed for an MVP run this season. He had an awesome season last year. He's just awesome defensively. This year, he's a negative defensive player. He's below average. He's a very average at best hitter. And he's nowhere near the Nolan Arenado that I've seen the last 2 years. And, this is the guy, I bought his jersey in spring training because of how hyped I was for this season for him. And it is just, I feel let down. I feel shorted from this effort that I'm getting from this team. I almost feel like I'm putting in more effort as a fan. And, obviously I know that's not true because those guys are going in, they're putting in the extra hours. But this is, as a fan of this team, it is just demoralizing to watch this because this is something for my entire childhood. I've been able to turn it on in the summer when there's no other sports on, be entertained, have a good time. You're not going to win them all, but at least, you're beginning a good brand of baseball the majority of the time. And that has just not been the case this year. It's just a complete flip flop. This is, I've always kind of wondered what it's like to be a fan of a team like the Pirates or the Angels. I guess not the Angels. It's a bad comparison because they have some superstars, but the Tigers or like a team like that that's just consistently bad. This is it, and this is the feeling. it's just demoralizing as a fan, because I feel shorted after all the hype I had, after what I was told by the management in the offseason and by some of the players. And this is what I'm getting, and it's just, it doesn't feel right, and it really is unbelievable, because I have like these little tiny MLB helmets, and I update standings every few days, and the Cardinals were in dead last the other day, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I'm looking at it. I know the brand of baseball I'm watching is bad right now, but I still cannot believe that we are in last place in the National League. It was just baffling. I still can't believe how bad we are playing. But at the same time, like you mentioned, we're right there. So all it's going to take is, one good month of baseball, and all of a sudden we are right back in the playoff race.
Yeah,
And
but they almost don't deserve to be in the playoff race, because I want to just tag this on real quick. I've actually been watching a little bit more lately, as some of the other sports seasons dwindled down, and I was watching multiple. I watched majority of the second half of the game last night, and just to your point, it's quite the turnoff when the players don't care. And I'm not saying that they don't care, but on
it
TV it
feels
looks
that way.
like they don't care. And it's a turnoff. And it's like, well, why am I watching this if they don't really give a rat's either? So it's just really tough. And I agree. It's back to what Luke said. I mean, St. Louis Cardinal baseball is just a staple point of Missouri, of Missouri as a whole. I mean, it's just something you watch. You have it on the radio. You're checking the score on your phone. Just you're involved with it. It's something you're involved with as a Missourian, and
When you're
it's
talking to
not
your
something that you want to
grandparents,
be involved with right now. Yeah.
yeah, when you're talking to your grandparents, it's, how are the Cardinals doing?
Mm-hmm.
I hear they're doing well. That's usually how they're doing, or they're not doing so well right now. So, occasionally it happens, and just to see it just fall off a cliff this year, and it's not over. There's time to right the ship. This is the best month to do it. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now. This is a huge homestand for Ale Marmol specifically. I think we have 3 games against the Reds, 3 games against the Giants. Reds are very hot right now. They have a lot of hype. They just called up the number 2 prospect in all of baseball, Ellie De La Cruz, which is basically O'Neill Cruz 2.0. It's a shortstop. Statcast numbers are awesome. They got a lot of hype going with their young guys right now. Spencer Steer, Matt McClain, some of those guys just coming up. Hunter Green on the mound, throwing 104 on every pitch. They're exciting. The Giants have been a little better as of recently, but but those teams aren't spectacular. They're no Rays, they're no Astros. They're teams that we need to beat, and we go 2-4 in this homestand. I don't think Ali Marmol manages another game for the Cardinals. And I don't necessarily think this is all his fault. But he has not done a great job by any means this year. And I've been extremely unimpressed, to say the least, with him this year. I don't want to give up on him yet, but I mean, if this team can't go 500 in a homestand against the Reds and Giants, when you absolutely need to go more than 500, I think that the front office just pulls the plug on that, because what else can you do? You can't just watch this happen. As if you're John Mozeliak, you're sitting there, you assembled this team. You can't just look at this and just give up on it and say, well, we're just gonna let it play out. You have to do something. And you don't want to go out and make like a trade for someone, because that would just, then you're giving up guys. But this is the stretch. We have the Reds, the Giants, the Mets, the Nationals. Then we go to London for the Cubs series for 2 games in London. That'll be fun. Maybe. These next 3 weeks is going to determine the season. Because if we start showing some life, and then we're going into a homestand with the Astros and the Yankees. I think after that, we're going to know a lot more, because if we go in, we go 4-2 against the Astros and Yankees after having some big weeks, we're back. But after the Astros-Yankees series, if it's like We're still kind of in the same spot, battling for last place. We're selling. And that has never been a spot I've been in my entire life. Many, many years I've been in where the Cardinals don't do anything or don't do hardly anything. Never have I been in a spot where we're selling some of our top talent. Like Jack Flaherty, Jordan Montgomery would be prime candidates to, be dealt at the deadline. Some people are talking about, now I think this is worst of worst case scenario, Paul Goldschmidt being traded. I just cannot imagine a scenario where Paul Goldschmidt gets traded at the deadline. It would shock me. It would be shocking.
It would be, but if they're selling, they're selling.
But this is a guy who he just won an MVP. You're coming off a division title. You have World Series aspirations, and all of a sudden you're trading the reigning MVP.
But it's not working, is it? Though
it's not. But
it's a new season. You can't dwell on the past forever. I understand what you're saying, but you can't. When it's this bad, I don't know if you can really dwell on the past that much. I mean, they need arms. They probably need to trade bats for arms at the deadline if they're gonna if they go on a little bit of a run here in June. Otherwise, like you said, what can you do? Just call it. I don't know what you would do if you're not trading bats for arms at the deadline if you make a little bit of a run.
I guess my final message is just to the Cardinals, just please start winning games, because every single year when, the NHL and NBA wrap up in mid-June, we have 2.5 months until football season, and it's just baseball. And if I have to watch a bad brand of baseball, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's a staple of a St. Louis summer, is for the Cardinals to be around, be competing, playing good baseball. So just please, please, please start winning some games, because I know they can do it. I know that they can do it. I saw it last year. Nearly the same team. And everyone has to step up. Every single player has to step up to a new level, has to take it to that. They have to develop that dog inside of them. But I still believe in them to do it, but man, my hope is dwindling. You know how much of I've been on them all year, through the thick and thin. I've said this team can still win the division. When everyone seems to be giving up, I've been on them, but even my hope is dwindling. And I'm a big Mozeliak defender. I love John Mozeliak. I think he's done a fantastic job. It's becoming hard to defend him when I'm seeing what I'm watching. And I'm questioning myself here. This month is going to be a huge month for the Cardinals and for myself. So,
yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. You want to talk a little on this note, some St. Louis woes? Just the city of St. Louis just continuously being. So we have the Cardinals situation, the Blues, Darren Pang, our beloved announcer Darren Pang, just signed a deal with the Blackhawks to do their games for the upcoming season. So not only leaving the Blues, but going to our biggest rival. Also, the Blackhawks getting Connor Bedard.
Yeah, I was just going to say he gets to watch him play for the next how long he's there for. So that's kind of sick for him. But
the sexual assault allegations and stuff going on, just to see an organization like that just take those two guys, it's very disheartening. And then the one bright spot right now in our city is the St. Louis soccer team. They're first in their conference in their first year of existence, which is very cool. But Lionel Messi just signed with the Miami team, and of course he's making his debut the week after they come to St. Louis. Yep. So we just barely miss out on watching literally the GOAT, maybe the greatest athlete of all time.
Like once in a lifetime opportunity to go to a game to see that. Missed it by a week. That was literally the first thing I checked when I saw that he committed to play there, and I was like, holy shit, let me look on our schedule, and then I'm going to go straight to Game Time or SeatGeek and TickPick and just see what the prices are. And I was like,
it's going to be $200 at least.
The first home game For Miami, normal ticket prices are $29, and the cheapest right now, as of yesterday, was $329, ranging to $1,300, which was like a 1,034% increase of how much tickets cost.
It's insane.
Valid though, very valid.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, but man, it sucks to miss out on it on 1 week because this is when you talk about like the greatest, most biggest names in sports. Messi is bigger than LeBron. Like LeBron is huge here. Messi, that's worldwide. You talk to anyone in the world, they know who Lionel Messi is. And just to be able to miss out on watching him play the game of soccer by 1 week, oh man, dude, it just adds insult to injury. When it rains, it pours here in St. Louis.
Yeah. And obviously we had the Battle Hawks conundrum a couple weeks ago, having one of the better records, but missing a spot in the playoffs. But it was kind of valid though, Luke, because the 4-6 Arlington Renegades ended up winning the title. So that is interesting that the worst record team won it. But you throw that in there, we were back on top, Forbes #1 per murder capital rate in the United States. So we got that at least.
Yep. Stan Kroenke's about to win an NBA title.
Yep. Just everything. Oh my God. Yeah. That's just awful too.
This is probably the lowest St. Louis sports has maybe ever been. The Blues suck. Man. Sucks. It sucks right now.
It's bad. It's bad. That's all you could really say.
And it is largely on the Cardinals, because I will say if the Cardinals start playing well, they make the playoffs, we're back. As weird as that sounds. It just, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
St. Louis woes.
Okay. Do we want to say hello, kiss it goodbye real quick?
Yeah. Turn on my light here. It's getting a little dark in my room. A little darky dark. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this in the rundown. After say hello, kiss it goodbye, stick around because we are doing the Wheel of NFL this week. So yeah, get ready for that. We're doing 2 teams.
So thank God. All right, here we go. Say hello, kiss it goodbye. This one's simple. Say hello to Mizzou. For me, my orientation for school is tomorrow. So this is getting very real, very fast. One tough scene to add on to that is I didn't take my school ID picture, which you're supposed to submit at least a week before your orientation day. I did not do that, so I will not be picking up my ID tomorrow. So yeah. Say hello to my new haircut. I got a haircut, really needed it. Could not comb my hair anymore when it was that long. So yeah, those are my say hellos. Do you want to do your say hellos and then my kiss it goodbyes, or should I just go ahead and finish?
Yeah. So my say hello is to Saudi Money. We kind of talked about that already with the Live and the PGA, but I mean, I heard on Part of My Take they were interviewing someone about golf, and it's like, is this a future of sports? Like, where the Saudis just come in, they start their own, or they take like a meddling league, take a bunch of the top players from your sport, and then you're just forced to integrate and use their money. I think the only sport that would not do that is the NFL because they're already making enough money. They're just like a super league already. So, but the other sports, there might be a threat.
I think you're right about the NFL because the one thing that the NFL has, and honestly, the NBA probably could be affected by this because because superstars run the league in the NBA. We've talked about this, but I don't think it would work really in the NFL because every year there's a draft, and every year there's 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 new players that are just absolute studs at the NFL level, no matter what, every single year, straight out of college. So that's why I think it would be very difficult. And Luke said they're the biggest cash cow in our nation in terms of sports. I don't think it would work. But imagine if they just food for thought here. What if they got, what if they took, say, Giannis, Luka, and like Dame Lillard and maybe Jason Tatum. Say they take those 4 in their league and they fill it up with maybe some G League guys, some lower tier NBA guys. Maybe there's only 8 teams, but
Let's say they get
4 of the
Victor
teams have.
Wembanyama too.
Yeah, they throw in Victy in there as well. Before you know it, the NBA is like, well, shit, some of our best players in the league are playing over here. We might have to just merge, and that's all they want. All they want is to merge so that they have a seat at the table.
Yep.
So
NBA
yeah, it could happen.
They negotiate.
They definitely would
on a regular basis. So would not shock.
Yeah.
And then my other say hello is to, I mentioned this earlier, Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds. If you haven't seen any of his highlights from his first week up in the big leagues, this guy's awesome. And the fact that the Cardinals are going to have to face him this weekend and for many years to come is kind of a tough scene for the Cardinals. But, I mean, this guy is electric. Cincinnati could have 2 just absolute superstars in their city. So,
what time is the game Saturday?
It's a good question. I'm looking at my calendar right now. It says TBD.
Okay.
Give me a second here. 1:15.
Okay, that's kind of early.
Which is at the same time as the Champions League final for soccer, which is probably the biggest game in the world.
Okay.
Bigger than the Super Bowl.
Interesting. All right. Well, I was going to say maybe if it was in the evening, maybe we could zip up there for that, just to see that kid. But
that'd be cool.
So yeah.
My salos.
My kiss it goodbyes are kissing goodbye this facial hair demo for Camden. I didn't hate it, but I just want to be clean shaven for tomorrow. I've let this go for I think 2.5 weeks now, and it still is not very much grown out. So yeah, we're kissing that goodbye. Kissing goodbye Norma Hunt, Luke. Rest in peace. It was very random, but the Chiefs' wife's owner just died, just very randomly the other day. Passed away.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad thing because she is very involved, and I'm sure it's even very more sad for Kansas City fans. But for that to blow up your timeline, it was kind of just rip, I guess. So yeah, kissing goodbye, Norma Hunt.
See ya, bitch.
I wasn't gonna say that, but
okay.
did I think it at one point? Maybe, but
I know
I'm not saying
that
that
at one point. That's your line.
So yeah, kissing goodbye. This is my favorite kissing goodbye this week. Kissing goodbye, Mizzou always having to play a short lineup because they just signed Connor Vanover, who is 7'3", and this adds a very big man for Mizzou, who they have been gouging around the portal the whole portal season, trying to find a big man. We've missed out on some very good players, but we're going to settle for Connor, who I think he averaged about 12 points per game, and I'm very interested to see how Dennis can use this guy. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. We'll see how that goes this upcoming season.
He did disappear against Duke, though, in the tournament.
He did. But he's in Mizzou colors now, so we're not going to talk about that, Luke. Okay. But he did.
You're right. Former Arkansas Razorback. So just kind of poached him from the Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Indirectly.
You're right.
So yeah, take that, Arkansas.
So former Razorback and a former blowjob Bob.
Yeah.
Pretty nice list of schools to have on your resume.
And also, this guy, Mizzou has been searching for a big guy for a while now. I mean, we really haven't had a true big guy since Jeremiah Tillman. Do you remember him from many years, the Conzo Martin early years?
Little boat. I love Jeremiah Tillman.
So yeah, this guy is going to be a true center that you can just kind of stand in the paint, guard the rim, which is something we missed out on last year. So yeah, I'm excited. Big pickup.
Yes, it was. Quite literally. So yeah.
Yeah. Literally.
Also, this was pretty recent to go along with Kobe Brown leaving Also kissing goodbye Isaiah Mosley. He's going to try and make it to the NBA. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
That was a weird experience, Luke. Wouldn't you say? Last Mizzou season with Isaiah Mosley?
To put it lightly, yes.
That was weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
That's all you could really say about it.
I don't know what happened. It was very eerie.
Yeah. Still very weird.
Still,
so, yeah. Okay, those were my kiss it goodbyes.
All right, and I got two of them. They're both baseball related, both pitcher related. So first one, kissing goodbye Jacob deGrom in the year of 2023. It was announced a few days ago he has to get Tommy John surgery. It is the second time in his career he's going to have to do it, which if you know anything about baseball history, the second time you get Tommy John surgery, it is really hard to come back from. And you're not really going to be yourself after. Like everyone, like most pitchers go through one Tommy John surgery. You know, their forearm just gets stretched out so much that they just have to go in and flip flop the tendons or whatever. You know, it's a weird surgery. If you look it up, it's very weird. Many pitchers do it once. Very few do it twice, and even fewer come back from it. He's going to be a guy to come back from it, but I don't know if he's going to be regular Jacob deGrom after that. Does suck for him. Does suck for the fans of baseball. And also Mets fans celebrating it. That was a very weird thing too. There were many Mets fans who were like, "Yeah, let's go. This is why we didn't sign him." Blah, blah. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe this is why the baseball gods injured Edwin Diaz celebrating because of behavior like this. So I want to root for the Mets so bad because of Frank. I want the Mets to do good, but then you just have these Mets fans that are going around celebrating injuries. And it doesn't, you know, I felt for Mets fans when Edwin Diaz got hurt, but then this whole Jacob deGrom thing happened. And I'm like, you know what? You deserve that. Not Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz didn't deserve it, but the Mets fans deserve that to happen to them.
That's why Blooper owns the Mets. It's pretty simple.
Exactly. And then my other kiss of goodbye is Alek Manoah. He is going to the Florida Complex League. So what a turnaround. He was in the Cy Young conversation last year, and, you know, he's in the Florida Complex League. Life comes at you fast, kind of like the Cardinals. You know, division winners last year on top of the world. It's a life comes at you fast moment. Alek Manoah, he's been bad, though. He's been really, really bad, and he's really, really fat, and it makes it
fat,
worse.
yeah. Yep. Although he did have a short stint. He did have a short stint on my team, hypothetically, or was it 2 shows ago?
Yeah.
When I thought he was on my team.
Though. Sean Manaea is who you were referring to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
not
right.
Manoah. Very similar sounding names. I get where the confusion comes in, but
thank you.
Yeah, Alek Manoah. I do hope he comes back because I think he's good for the MLB. He's a good personality. He's kind of got the villain mindset, and he's fat. I think he's a good person to have in the MLB. But I wouldn't be telling the truth if I told you it wasn't at least a little bit funny. To see him being optioned to the not AAA to the Florida Complex League, which is not even a league. It's literally just go down to our spring training facility and figure your shit out, basically. Which he will, and he'll come back and he'll be fine. But it is funny. Kissing him goodbye for now. And with that, this is normally where we would conclude the show, but NFL wheel spins this week, and we are back to all 32 teams. This is weird. I haven't even thought about the NFL very much, other than this is some other NFL news. Josh Allen was on the cover of Madden this week. That was officially announced for Madden 24. That is about the only time I've thought of the NFL in the past month, I'd say.
Yeah.
So,
one thing I did have that we pushed off from a couple shows ago was some NFL rule changes. So the NFL owners approved a rule for 2023 that will allow teams to signal for a fair catch anywhere between their 25-yard line and their goal line on kickoffs only and be awarded the equivalent of a touchback, which is obviously where the ball is spotted at the 25-yard line. And Luke, a lot of people were against this, saying that this, kickoffs are pretty much going to become obsolete. Kickoff returns are going to become obsolete. But for me, I'm really kind of all for this change because this does increase player safety. The kickoff is one of the most dangerous plays in football. And then I always see stuff that people are like, well, football is going to become obsolete someday. So if we can take one step closer to it not becoming obsolete, so it does suck that kickoffs are partially going to be going away because there's just going to be less of them, more fair catches, and they can be very exciting. But this rule has worked out very well in college football last year, and so I think it'll work out just fine in the NFL. It won't miss a beat. And also players can wear the number 0 now in the NFL. So we're going to see some weird shit on the TV screen come September.
Hopefully that doesn't mean 00. It's 0 I'm fine with. The 00 is where I cross the line.
00 is hideous. It just looks like a practice jersey that they gave to a fan.
One of my favorite players, Benedict Mathurin, decided to take that route this year. And unfortunately, I did buy his jersey with the 00. And it is gross, but
it actually is pretty sick, your jersey that you have for him. But the 00 is weird.
The number's gross. I don't really like this rule. I wish they would just take after the XFL and do kickoffs that way, because it would be not only safer, but it would also be more exciting. But instead they just decided to go to college route, which I guess is fine, but there were better ways to go about it, I think.
Yeah, I think it will be safer. And then one of the things people say that, there's just going to be no more kickoff returns for touchdowns. One, there's already very few at the NFL level. They just don't happen because the players are so good. The guys on kickoff are such good at their craft that's sometimes the only reason why they're on the team. And we're still going to see kickoffs for touchdowns, kickoffs return for touchdowns. There's just some athletes in the NFL that are not going to call fair catch, and they're going to take their chances, and they're going to return some. And it actually might catch the kickoff team off guard at times if you kick off 5 times in a game and they fair caught it every single time, and all of a sudden some city slicker fast guy just decides to return one on you, and he takes it all the way back. So we might see some of that. Who knows? Yeah, I can understand why people don't like it. I know my brother probably hates this rule as football slowly but surely becomes softer over the years. So shout out Tate.
Yeah. All right, you want to get to the wheel spins here? I'm itching to get to it.
I do.
So, I don't remember any teams after it, but I do remember that the Falcons were first last year.
Okay.
They were the first team. I don't remember who the second or the third or whoever it was after that, but I do remember the Falcons were first. So if they repeat, their curse of 28-3 is officially ended. I'm calling it.
Okay. I'm going to. We did a really bad job of keeping track last year. We eventually just started doing it off the top of our heads.
Yep.
Which was funnier. Funnier.
Colts.
Okay. I'm going to write that down. All right, Colts.
It was funnier just to guess. Teams, I wonder
if we did a team
49ers
twice.
on there. We're like, oh, we already did the 49ers, and we never did the 49ers.
It was just a team. Yeah, it was just a team that we felt like we definitely did.
Yeah. Or maybe it was the Browns. I think the Browns, we did that too. We're like, oh, yeah, the Browns we didn't do the Browns. So the Colts are the first team. I'm going to eliminate them from the wheel.
All right, I'll pull up the timer.
Okay.
It's a minute, right? We try to split it down the middle.
Yeah, I think we a minute for both of us combined. I would like to go first on this one.
Okay.
So
gather your thoughts.
My own timer. Huh?
Gather your thoughts.
Yep.
Tell me when you click it. I'll click it on mine too. Or I'll do it with the stopwatch so it doesn't do a time. Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. The Indianapolis Colts coming into the season it's a big prove it year. Last year, one of the worst teams in all of football. Big salary cap woes. Offensive line collapsed. But this year, they bringing in the Anthony Richardson regime. He's going to go out there behind that offensive line that has to step up, come back to fruition. They got the offensive mind in Shane Steichen. It's going to be a big prove-it year in that division, the South, and I think it's just going to be funny to watch Jim Irsay take control of this team.
Yeah, I am actually really excited for this division as a whole, and I think the Colts actually have a great chance to win it because it's all young quarterbacks. We have Bryce Young, not Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Will Levis probably at some point, and Anthony Richardson. And if their offensive line kicks it back into high gear, they're going to have a chance because they still have Jonathan Taylor, who is a madman. So we'll just wait and see. But I think they have a chance to win this division.
And their defense is still good.
Very true.
All right, team number 2, and then we'll postpone the rest of the teams until next week. So I don't know if I know any Colts fans that I could shout out besides Pat McAfee.
Mace Merriman.
Okay, Chase Merriman. There we go. Shout him out. I'll try to shout out a fan of every team, too, that we get. Here's the other spin. Oh, man, that was a good spin, Luke. Oh, yes. Yes, the Raiders. The Raiders. Funny team. Oh, man, I have so much to say about this team, but it's not analytical at all.
I'm going to let you go.
Okay. All right, here we go. Another minute on the clock. 3, 2, 1. The Raiders are one of the worst franchises in all of football. Terribly, terribly owned. They have no money. That's the funny part, is that they want to move. They want to sell, but they want to buy players. They just can't. They don't have the money. Ever since they didn't hire Rich Bisaccia after he took them to the playoffs through all that turmoil in the season, the John Gruden, the Henry Ruggs, they didn't hire him. I've just wished bad upon them ever since, and it was phenomenal to see him collapse last year. Also, they stole Devontae Adams from me. Very rude as well, but he's awesome.
Tom Brady did buy into this team, so maybe they will have a little bit more money now. So we'll see. Look, they still have sick uniforms. They still play in a sick stadium, and they still have a sick running back. I don't know what their quarterback situation is. Oh, yeah. Porn star Jimmy Garoppolo, or porn star dated Jimmy Garoppolo, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if they even drafted a quarterback, so We'll see. All right, that's the Raiders.
Yeah, bad division to be playing into when you have Patrick Mahomes in your division. Yeah.
All right.
I hate the Raiders. I'm like that one kid, but I'm not crying while I'm saying it. I just hate the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I root against them every time. But thank you for giving the Packers Rich Bisaccia.
He did help. He did help them.
Definitely.
Except Amari Rodgers. That was tough. But they released him.
Yeah, we took care of that. I'm excited for this NFL season to get underway. Mostly because baseball season is.
You have no idea.
Well. But yeah, that's the show, episode 64. So shout out to 2048, the game, because 64 is one of the multiples in that game. So
yeah,
shout out Fibonacci sequence.
Shout out, I guess we'll shout him out. Shout out Borgia for taking second in the state. Nice. And shout out to Landon Boston for pulling in his first offer from Sioux Falls University. There you go. We'll clap it up for Landon, not for Borgia.
Yeah. I will say that's the first of many that's going to come. That is not going to be the only offer he gets, and I would imagine he gets a few bigger offers, especially after he dominates this football season. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's the show, episode 64. Join us next week. Yeah, we'll be back next week. And thanks again to Ryan for coming on last week, and we'll see you guys next week.